Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natalie Fanny Gonzalez. We are here in the Economic Development Committee session, and today is Take Your Child to Work Day. So there are a lot of little feet going around the building, and very exciting to see the next generation here watching every single move that we make. Including my children who said, Mommy, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be in your office. So fine. They're listening to me right now. So we have 3 items on the agenda. The first one is going to be on the FY26 operating budget urban districts. And by the way, as you all know, there are 4 council members in this committee, Councilmember Marilyn Balkan and Evan Glass. Councilmember Lorian Sales, she's not going to be able to make it. So, but we're going to take off. If we can have the first panel here, please, for the urban districts, and I'm going to ask staff to please kick it off, and then we'll follow by the county executives team. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. For the urban districts, the county executive recommends an increase of $416,381, or 3.26%, from the FY25 approved operating budget. This is largely a same services budget. A little bit of background regarding the operating budget equity tool analysis provided by ORESJ. The tool indicated that the urban districts have provided solid plans to carry out commitments in all areas of the Government Alliance on Race and Equity framework. The urban districts further note that they have established a steering committee with members of each district dedicated to guiding a more in-depth review of how their combined budgets and services align with the county's equity principles. There are a couple of items for committee review, which council staff ultimately recommends approval, but before going into those items, happy to turn it over for questions.
No, if perhaps then, if we can go one by one and talk about the districts in Wheaton, Silver Spring, Frenchy Heights, Bethesda, that'll be great. Any order that you guys want to proceed. I'm assuming each district has a presentation or some comments. Yes, you want to start, Mr. Fosselman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Peter Fosselman for the record. I'm Director of Regional Services. We're based in Bethesda. Our territory is Chevy Chase, Bethesda, parts of Potomac, North Potomac, all the way up to the city of Rockville. Thank you for hearing us today. We appreciate the time. As you know, I have 2 urban districts in my turf, so to speak, Friendship Heights, which is our newest one, and the Bethesda Urban Partnership, Bethesda. And I wanted to thank our partners, the Bethesda Urban Partnership, they're here today, as well as the Friendship Heights Alliance, who play a huge role in making it very successful in both urban districts. I don't have any further comments, except I appreciate the time, and I'm here to answer questions.
Thank you. Do you guys want to introduce yourself?
Luisa Cardona, Mid-County Regional Director, and the Wheaton Urban District is under me. Under the Wheaton Urban District, we are making some changes in order to adapt to the changing needs of the community. Specifically, we're moving to a 7-day-a-week to more align with the needs. We have now the public spaces, which is Marion Fryer Plaza that you guys have been to and have supported so generously, as well as Veterans Park. We're also expanding in different placemaking initiatives, like the Wheaton Streetery pilot program that we are relaunching very soon. And with that, we needed to change staffing schedules in order to better adapt to weekend needs of events. And so that transition, we believe, will help ease some of the overtime and strains. We have seen an increase in cost. We noted that last year, and you guys very generously added additional funding to help us meet those costs. We know with cuts this year, some of that funding has been lost, but we are looking at very creative ways, including more partnerships. We're working with planning specifically for the Taste of Wheaton. They will activate to create a roller skating rink that we're very excited about. We are working with One Montgomery Green as well as local businesses in order to activate and program the streetery. And we're also hoping to really push our sponsorships and our fundraising efforts in order to help support the continued events like the Taste of Wheaton, TGIF, Hallow Wheaton, and all the great things that the community expects. So we are very cognizant of a tight budget year, and we are also really focused on ensuring that the community does not see reduce services in any way. And with that, we're having to be very creative, but we are very pleased with the support of our community, our nonprofits, as well as our local businesses to help us do that.
Thank you. That Wheaton Street issue have been open right now, but okay. Silver Spring.
Sure thing. Jacob Newman for the record, Regional Director of Silver Spring, which includes the Silver Spring Urban District. Last year was a banner year for Silver Spring, and much of that credit is due to the economic development and mobilization in downtown Silver Spring and in the surrounding communities. One of the best places to live in the country and raise a family, live with family, excuse me. And so, yeah, I mean, we've been focused really on just preserving the level of service for residents, as well as focused on our hiring. I think a couple of years ago when we came before you, we had about 14 vacancies in the urban district staff. That is down to just 2. Hats off to my colleague behind me, Carson Henry, who has made 20 hires in about 3 years to ensure that we have the staffing needed. This also is a changing approach that will reduce overtime that I think is going to critically impact in a positive way our FY26 budget. So as Luis and Pete have said, we really remain committed to serving our downtown and surrounding communities through the Urban District program, clean, safe, and welcoming services, but overall it's really to lend to that economic development approach. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Last but not least, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Katie Bryant-Higgins, OMB Analyst.
Thank you so much. If staff wants to continue with the packet, that would be great.
Sure. There are 2 items in particular for the committee's review, beginning on page 4 at the top of your packet, top of your page. The first is the executive's recommended increase of $196,855 for the Bethesda Urban Partnership contract. You can see from the breakout attached at Circle 10 in your packet that about 78% of this total increase reflects salary and compensation increases for BUP staff. The remainder comprises inflationary increases for various services that BUP provides within the Bethesda Urban District. So for this item, council staff recommends approval.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask the committee if anybody has any questions on this particular item. No questions, so we're going to consider that approved. Second?
The second item, after which will follow a little bit of additional general information for the committee's information consideration, is the executive's recommended overtime adjustment for Silver Spring of $69,920. As Mr. Newman mentioned, with the additional hires in Silver Spring, overtime overall is anticipated to decrease, but previously the urban district was able to use some of the unspent personnel funding in their budget for some of this overtime. Now that those positions have been filled, the executive is recommending the $69,920 increase for overtime, and staff recommends approval.
Yeah, thank you for that. Also, would like to note that Council President Kay Stewart, who represents the urban district in Silver Spring, sent a letter also supporting this recommendation, especially the funding under the, this recommendation. Does anybody have any questions? With that, we also agree in approving this. Yeah.
And then just a little more information for the committee's consideration. Item number 2 at the bottom of page 4 of your packet breaks down the expense allocation by program area for each of the 3 of the larger urban districts, Bethesda, Silver Spring, and Wheaton. There have been various budget neutral shifts within each of the urban districts as the urban districts have realigned personnel to better reflect the cost centers in which they're based, so that those are largely responsible for the changes that you see on tables 3, 4, and 5 of your packet. Moving on to page 5, a review and overview of the general fund and parking lot district transfers to each of the urban districts. As the committee will recall, beginning a couple of years ago with the budget review and continuing this past year, the committee and the Transportation and Environment Committee have conducted informational reviews of the funding policies for the urban districts, especially as they pertain to the parking lot district transfers into each of the urban districts. So this just provides an update on that. Table 6 indicates that the parking lot district transfer from the Bethesda parking lot district and from the Wheaton parking lot district to those urban districts respectively has remained the same from FY25 to FY26. Silver Spring, the parking lot district transfer from the Silver Spring parking lot district to the Silver Spring urban district has decreased, which has resulted in a corresponding increase to the Silver Spring urban district from the general fund to balance out that decrease in the parking lot district transfer. Bethesda has seen a smaller increase in the general fund transfer, while Wheaton has seen a net general fund transfer decrease, in part due to the larger fund balance with which Wheaton is projected to end this year. So again, happy to answer any further questions about that as well.
Councilmember Falcon.
So thank you. I appreciate the packet. So I know that we'll talk about the parking lot districts separately. That's unfortunately a disconnect between committees, and we have this situation every year when we're looking at changing the formula. So while it's a shift from general fund from the parking lot district, which I don't have any questions, but from a budgetary perspective, it means an additional $2 million hit to the general fund. And I think that we need to just be cognizant of that and raise that up from the budgetary perspective, that this is an additional $2 million increase. However, I know that on the T&E committee, when we look at the parking lot districts, I understand the reason for that shift. I just wanted to bring that forward. Thank you.
I think that was great. Thank you for bringing that up. Councilmember Glass.
I second that. You beat me to it, as usual. And again, it speaks to the need that the two committees are working towards. We need the executive and his team to be able to work with us to figure this out. Otherwise, we're going to be in the same situation in the coming years. But you got two members of the T&E committee here, so we're still focused on it.
And one that always follows the T&E committee, I have to say. And I will say that at least in Wheaton, for the Wheaton Urban District, we already started working with, having our first meeting with WUDAC happened about 6 months ago, talking about this very issue, modernizing, let's just use that word, modernizing our process. And we are also going to have a press conference with a 501c3 nonprofit that we created in Wheaton, kind of following the model that we have in Bethesda, just with a different vibe, I have to say. Very different vibe. And we're moving forward to that. Is there anything else, because it feels like we are all in agreement with the county executive's recommendations. Anything else that we missed?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all your work. Okay, with that, thank you for coming, and we're going to move forward with the second item on the agenda. FY26 operating budget, Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, MCEDC, NDA. If our friends from MCEDC can come forward. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I see the chair of the board. Oh, okay, no. You're going to sit over there? Okay, fine. You can come forward. We're going to start with Mr. Ali. If you can please kick us off, and then I'm going to ask everybody to introduce themselves briefly. So go ahead.
Do you want me to go through the packet first, or?
You know, go for it. Go for the packet first.
Okay,
go ahead.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you. So yes, we're talking about the Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, NDA, MCEDC. The county executive is recommending an increase of $590,000 above the FY25 approved operating budget. This includes $450,000 in enhancement for increasing business attraction activities, as well as the 3% inflationary adjustment for nonprofit providers, which is not a decision point before this committee. And MCEDC does not receive an operating budget equity tool analysis, and council staff has not recommended any changes to the county executive's recommendation. There is a brief description of MCEDC on page 2. You'll recall that the ECON committee discussed and reviewed their performance during FY25 in March, and that packet is linked in this packet. The budget discussion items are summarized in Table 2 on page 3, and you can see starting on page 3 through page 5, the summary of the proposal for how MCEDC plans to program the $450,000, the bulk of which will be, like I said, increasing their business attraction, and they have specific strategies that they're planning to undertake. I'll note that they see all of these activities as part of one package, as part of the same thing, and they do not recommend any tranches, and council staff would concur, just given the fact that as you can see on table 3, that their historical spend has generally exceeded their appropriation, and according to MCEDC staff, that's to maintain their level of service. And so in recognition of that, council staff does recommend consideration of the $450,000. Also note that MCEDC is requesting an additional $400,000, for which they have a detailed proposal starting on circle pages 4 and 5, and the committee may wish to inquire about that. Council staff did ask MCEDC staff to sort of explain what work they will do, what they'll accomplish as part of the proposal, but also in their responses to council staff questions, and they've also outlined some of the economic development outcomes the county can expect from this enhancement to their budget. And they've also explained some of the consequences of not funding this request. In terms of fund balance policies, just wanted to note that that MCEDC had previously had a policy to reserve for a reserve fund equivalent to 3 months of basic operating expenses, which was equivalent to $1.2 million. They have been tapping into that for their operating budget, and agreed to reduce that to $600,000 going forward in the future fiscal years. So with that, the committee's decision points are on page 7, and I'll turn it over to MCEDC.
Well, thank you so much for that. And before we move forward with MCEDC and the county executive team, I just want to remind folks that this is a year, now more than ever, where the county must invest in creating more jobs, attracting more businesses, retaining talent. So I feel like I had to say that up front. So I'm going to ask MCEDC to please feel free to speak now, and then we're going to end with Mr. Harman Espada. So.
I'm just going to introduce myself, Ilana Fine. I'm the board chair of MCEDC, and I fully agree with you, Council Member Fanny Gonzalez, and we are up to the task.
I never ask people to introduce themselves, so go ahead.
All right, I'll take advantage of that.
Yeah, take advantage.
So, Lori Babb, I'm one of the directors of economic development at Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation.
Good afternoon, Stacy Hardy, Chief Administrative Officer.
Hi, Jennifer Sin, Treasurer of the Board.
Manolizia Hashmi, Director of Marketing.
Prayas Neopani, Director of Economic Development.
Mr. Harman Espada, would you like to make a few comments? Or
I really appreciate that, Chair Fanny Gonzalez. For the record, my name is Ken Hartman Espada. I'm Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, and I get to work with MCEDC in their relationship with the county. I do want to pass on the county executive's appreciation for the leadership shown by the Board of Directors. No board wants to do it, but the hardest part of any job of any board is to manage a transition. And they are rising to the occasion. They're engaging not only with us, but with their own team as they recruit a new leader for the county as we move forward. I also want to commend the staff, especially the folks who are here at this table, who have engaged with us on so many different partnerships in the last, since the beginning of the year and before, not only on business attraction, but also on the upcoming BioSelect USA and ICSC conferences, not to mention their work with us on the Innovation and Founders Grants and Mobilize Montgomery. No effort has shown more of the capacity of this organization to be a connector between all the different partners. Chair Fanny Gonzalez, as you said it, we are in more pressure than ever to diversify our private sector and to retain the talent that is homegrown in this county to feed that economic growth. But with that, I just want to say the county executives, of course, put forward this increase, and we look forward to your support.
Thank you so much for that. Mr. Ali, can we walk through the decision points today? Unless anybody else had, you have
Sorry,
some
may I have
questions?
a,
Go ahead.
I do have some comments. So good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to let me speak today. My name is Jennifer Sin. I am the treasurer of the board for Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, and I am here today as a representative of the MCEDC board, serving as a fiduciary for both this organization and the county that we serve. I, along with the rest of the board, am committed to stewarding its future and helping Montgomery County grow stronger through these unprecedented times of change and challenge. Yes, it's been long overdue, but we have taken the time now to truly listen to our partners and our stakeholders, including many of you. We've heard you about mission creep. We've heard you about us operating in a silo. We've heard you on our misalignment and our marketing initiatives. We've heard you about how we manage our excess cash and reserves. We've heard you, and we own it all. We fell short in previous years, and in doing so, we failed to prioritize initiatives that build stronger foundations for this county's economic development. We recognize that we must do better, not because the burden relies solely on us, but because we have a critical role to play in building and fueling the economic engine that keeps Montgomery County and Maryland thriving and resilient. As you're aware, we are in a leadership transition. We've engaged Korn Ferry to support the search, and we've deployed two of our own board members, Andy Chod, co-president of Minkoff Development, and Ann Kademian, executive director of the Universities of Shady Grove, to lead that process. And while it is still early in the search, we remain bullish as the interest in the caliber of the applicants has been encouraging. We are being thoughtful and intentional through the process to ensure we hire the right CEO for the challenges and opportunities ahead at this exact moment in time for the county. I am personally chairing the transition committee, working to ensure the next president and CEO is set up for success from day one. That work is not happening in a vacuum. I've spent a great deal of time recently with MCEDC's leadership team, who are here with me today. Stacy, Lori, they've already introduced themselves, Manu, and Preyas. I'm also grateful to be sitting here with Ken Hartman, who's been very supportive and a valuable partner as we continue to transition into the forward-focused organization that this county and its residents deserve. Together, we are reestablishing and reaffirming our purpose. We have streamlined and refocused our operations. With an outgoing CEO and two vacant senior positions, the organization has had to operate lean, but has learned to become efficient, and they have stepped up to meet the challenge. Some of our work will always be tactical, like attending key conferences like Bio and Select USA, and in the past we may have run into some competing initiatives at these conferences when we operate without collaboration. So we've actively engaged our local partners to avoid redundancies and create a cohesive message and story behind the value that Montgomery County holds. We have already begun breaking down silos between organizations. A prime example of this is Mobilize Montgomery, an initiative that was only possible through the collective efforts of MCEDC and our county partners. It represents more than just a one-time effort. It provides a blueprint for collaboration to create lasting impact. Mobilize Montgomery shows what we can accomplish when we come together for a shared purpose. We've also begun to turn our marketing strategy to be more modern, nimble, and adaptive. We've closed the chapter on some of our legacy marketing campaigns and tactics. Instead, we have quickly refocused our attention on marketing the county and our partners through newer, more relevant platforms like LinkedIn, while also refining a new marketing campaign that will aim to reflect the strengths and opportunities of Montgomery County today. We have also been tasked with delivering the county's next strategic economic development plan. As you're aware, we've requested an extension of this deadline, but that does not mean that we have deprioritized this effort. On the contrary, we're actively laying the groundwork for it, bridging our way to the plan. We are exploring strategic initiatives and holding meaningful conversations with stakeholders to understand what matters today and what will create impact tomorrow. This foundational work is being guided by research and data so that the final plan is not only strategic, but also grounded in the realities and opportunities facing our county. Much of this conversation is also being guided at the board level. Our board of directors is more engaged than ever, active not just in governance, but in advocacy and strategy. Angela Franca from the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce recently began joining our board meetings, and we're thankful for our active participation and collaboration. Additional thanks to Ken Hartman, Rich Madalino, Councilmember Balcombe, Anthony Featherstone, who all participate at our board meetings and work with us beyond the boardroom. Other board members continue to lead in, from leading our CEO search and transition efforts to rolling up our sleeves on strategic initiatives. The board is committed to being a value-added partner to the county. We're grateful to board members like Todd Pearson, Pete Brisman, Jim Soltes, and Andy Chod, who continue to provide insight, data, and guidance in real estate and site selection work. Other board members provide expertise in other ways. Dr. Mukesh Kumar and Silvana Nani recently spent an entire day reviewing the submissions for the Innovation and Founders Funds. And it goes without saying that the work of the board under the leadership of Ilana Fine, who sits beside me today, has been instrumental in guiding this organization through a period of necessary transformation. We recognize the deeply difficult decisions ahead of you with this FY26 budget. Every line item matters, and even small adjustments to appropriations can feel challenging in a year like this. We do not minimize the gravity of the budget decisions you must make. We understand that decisions made today have real implications for our county services and our people. But we ask you to not see us as just another cost center. Economic development is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Our very mission is to grow the economic engine that supports and stabilizes this county, especially in times of uncertainty. This is the exact moment that we must all together lean in. This county has long relied on federal jobs, federal funding, and federal certainty, but the rules have changed and the certainty we once enjoyed is no longer guaranteed. The ripple effects of federal decisions are being felt across our businesses, agencies, and households alike. And still, we don't have full visibility into the magnitude of these changes. We likely won't feel the full impact for years, but what we do know is that now is the time to act. I teach 3 separate courses at the University of Maryland, which means that I'm constantly surrounded by many young adults who seem to be chronically in transition or facing challenging times, as many are at that age. Because of this, I am afforded multiple opportunities to mentor and guide, especially during their difficult times. It's easy to focus on the risk and the difficulties at these inflection points of their lives, but I found that the one most powerful way to help them reframe a situation is to ask a simple question. What instead is your opportunity? And today I ask that question to all of us who are stewards of this county's future. What is this county's opportunity in the face of all of these headwinds? I believe it's this. It's choosing to invest in the future of Montgomery County. It's prioritizing the work that empowers our businesses and our constituents to control our destiny and write our own story. It's signaling to our residents and businesses that we are serious about growing from this moment by prioritizing an investment that can create outcomes for every single resident of this county. We are laser focused on our core functions, business attraction, retention, and marketing, and we're doing more with what we have, right-sizing our operations and improving coordination with partners. But most importantly, we are listening to the needs of the business community, the council, and the CE's office. We've become nimble and adaptive, and we are committed to alignment with both the county executive's office and the council. But we cannot deliver on our strategic initiatives without your support. We need to secure our full budget, which will allow us to attract and empower the next president and CEO. Your investment will send a signal of confidence in this organization and in the future we're building together. I'll now hand it over to our leadership team to walk through the details of our appropriation request. Thank you for your time. Or below.
You want me to just summarize the decision points again? So yeah, we're on section E on page 3 here. You can see the table summarizing the changes. There's one enhancement. Just to note briefly that this does reflect an update to what was transmitted on March 15th, where the original description was 2 enhancements for expanding international business, and I think through evolving conversations between the County Executive's Office and MCEDC, they decided to instead increase funding for business attraction. The full proposal for how that $450,000 would be expended is on page 3 and 4, and they can walk through that. That's basically decision point 1, and that's the only one. We also have, we didn't recommend any reductions, but we can get to that point and talk about vacancies as well. But for 1.1, it's just the increased business attraction activities.
Yes, thank you for that. And before we start talking about that particular point, I want to thank the board of NCDC. I think your leadership has been felt. I think I'm free to say by everyone. Thank you for your remarks and for your acknowledgments too. At the end of the day, we're all in this together, and we're partners. And I think it's very clear that now more than ever, Montgomery County needs your partnership, alongside with the Business Center, alongside with my dear friend Judy Costello, who's sitting in the back. But we need to work together in coordination, and I think we have arrived into that understanding at this point, and I feel very excited. Even though we have chaos going on around the U.S., I do feel that we're in a good place. It's and I think, and you touched on your remarks on this, the need of pushing Montgomery County to rely more on the private sector for jobs and not just depending on the federal government for jobs. It's just not realistic, and we need to move forward to ensure that happens. I am not planning to cut anything from the county executive's proposal, so you know. Maybe we shouldn't, well, maybe we need to talk about it, but at least I'm not. But so the first question you have, Mr. Ali, on page 3, right? If we agree with increasing funding for business attraction activities for $450,000, that's the first question. I agree. Do you have any comments? Please, Councilmember Glass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really appreciate those comments, Ms. Sin. The leadership that you and Ms. Fine and the rest of the board have exhibited over the last few months, it's been tough. But as you noted, it's been a tough few years, right? And I appreciate you framing the conversation the way you did, because all of it needed to be said. I don't think it has been said in that way since MCEDC was created. And the complications and the redundancies and the lack of whatever it was, communication, let's just say, was never really talked about. And we whispered and we called. I have colleagues who yelled privately, people across the street, right? And where we are now is recognizing that we cannot have any of that. The mission needs to be set, the support needs to be there, because our community needs it now more than ever. If it's taken 8 years to get MCEDC sea legs, you better be ready, because the time is calling. And as you undergo the search for the new CEO, that person better be ready too. And I've shared my thoughts privately with a number of the board and staff about the abilities or qualities I think that person should have. But the reality is this is a make or break moment. And the fact that we are all now coordinated internally, externally here in Rockville is so critically important. And if it took 8 years to get here, so be it. We're here now. We need you. The budget is needed. I do have questions about it. You want me to ask them now? Go ahead, please. Okay. I always have questions, right? Because the questions I just have is, can you just explain it a little bit more? Because the thought that comes to my mind is, if we need, these funds for various things, have they not been done? Are they being used to enhance these services and outreach and site selections? But so can someone just go through and explain how these expenditures are going to help MCEDC and help Montgomery County with job creation? Yeah, MCEDC.
We have a presentation, so we'll run through that, and I think that will help answer your questions.
Great, then we can hold off.
Mr. Ali, do you have it with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I jumped the gun. It happens.
All right, good afternoon again. So we are presenting two scenarios for the FY26 budget, both of which are based on the county executive's recommendation. And again, we do appreciate the increase over the previous year. Bilal summed up a number of these points in his opening remarks. We are going to be using $600,000 of our reserve to fill the gap in order to be able to fulfill all of the things that we're going to be talking about a little bit more. The second scenario B includes an additional ask. So over and above the county executive's recommendation, we do have a number of initiatives that we feel are going to be very forward-thinking and reflect a lot of the conversations that we've had with our stakeholders in terms of addressing the needs and the gaps. And so we're going to have the rest of the team weigh in on this. I did want to mention, in terms of our expenses, we have been very, very intentional about how we spend our money. We've been good stewards of the county's dollars. But I wanted to point out in terms of our personnel, in both of the scenarios, we intend to have 22 FTEs. We currently have 23 in the budget. There are 3 open positions right now, but we will only be filling 2 in the next fiscal year. So we will be losing 1 FTE. So I just wanted to make that clear. We have built in both scenarios, the additional activities that we're going to be pursuing, and then I'll go ahead and turn it over to the team to talk about those initiatives.
Next slide, please. Yeah. So for FY26, our working work plan right now builds on the foundation of our core efforts: business attraction, business retention and expansion, and marketing. But it also builds on our current focus on addressing local challenges created by federal changes. So we also intend to focus on broadening our collaboration efforts and also delivering on the county's comprehensive 4-year economic development plan. And we'll get into some more of those details in the next couple of slides.
Thank you, Lori. So for the first initiative that we're talking about is on the site competitiveness. So when we talk to site selectors right now, we spend a lot of time talking to them about the qualities of why Montgomery County is the best place for their investment. And that goes to talk about access to talent. We talk a lot about our diversity as an asset. We talk a lot about our incentives and programs that we offer. However, we need to do a better job in terms of communicating with them about some of the sites that we have available in the county. So right now, when we present the sites to the site selectors, we will present it at a very high level, which does not have enough details that they are often at times looking for. So over the last couple of years, just building the relationship with site selectors, one of the things that's becoming very prominent is speed to market. So from a company making a decision of investing in a community, they want to be open within a year, right? Often at times, the site selectors do a good job of saying, hey, you need up to 2 years, but they really want to get on the ground as soon as possible. So with this initiative, what we're looking to do is educate the site selection community on some of the assets that we have, some of the sites we have in the county, and educate them on what does that site entail. What are some of the characteristics of the sites, right? Which includes what is the zoning and permitting right now? What is the land use? What is the area that they can really build on? What kind of utilities are present at the site at the moment? And also looking at what other aspects are necessary for this site to be considered ready. And the goal here really is to work with the private sector community, the county partners, as well as the utilities to have a comprehensive list of sites and develop an opportunity in Montgomery County, and also to identify gaps so that both the county partners as well as the private sector can start addressing some of those gaps to make some of these sites competitive. And Manu will talk a little bit more about how what kind of marketing approach we're going to use to promote these sites, both nationally as well as internationally. The second thing that we're really hoping to do is do an independent audit of our economic development impact. So that is considered best practice in economic development, having an external objective person come in and agency come in and look at whether or not we're making the right kind of impact, and the impact that we're making is actually what's happening, right? That promotes transparency, that builds trust. So we're recommending that as one of the initiatives this year. So I'll turn it over to Manu, who can talk a little bit more about how marketing is going to function.
Thanks, Priyas, and thank you again for the opportunity. So from a marketing perspective, there's 3 priorities for fiscal 26. One is the continuing branding alignment with the county, continuing our promotion of county resources that are already available. And then the third one is really investing in what we're calling targeted awareness. And what that means is, instead of building general brand awareness, which we tried that before, we're really going to focus on raising visibility in front of the audience that really matters. So the site selection I think we're back on that other slide. The site selection audience is part of that initiative, of the Selection Competitive Initiative. And our approach there from a marketing perspective is really to increase visibility in front of that audience. So we already have some presence at events. We want to scale that. We want to go beyond just having a presence, just attending the events. So thought leadership opportunities, speaking engagements, panels, sponsored content. It's a multi-channel approach, but it's really targeted to that particular audience. One of the things we found is that it's really difficult to find the companies before they get to the site selections, right? So the best chance we have is making sure that we at Montgomery County features as a county, that we educate that audience so that they know what we offer ahead of time. So when they do have projects with their clients, they think, okay, Montgomery County is a place that can fit this project. So that's our approach for that. And then in terms of what Priyas was referring to promoting key development sites, this is really a critical piece of our storytelling, not only of what the county's ecosystem is, but really what is already available, right? And so I think what we're planning is taking the opportunity to develop some high quality assets, content creation for the specific sites that the county wishes to highlight, and then work in coordination with the regional centers to distribute that, to promote it. Obviously, will be embedded in some of the existing campaigns that we already have, but we're really looking to potentially invest maybe on a microsite or interactive map or some kind of high quality content. There'll be videos and things that, depending on how many sites we actually need to promote. So that's that second bucket right there. So, yeah, I can keep going. No problems. But on the additional enhanced appropriation, may not have gotten that title correct, but on the additional set of funds, we obviously want to continue supporting Mobilize Montgomery. So that has, I think, to Jan's point and the point that everybody made earlier, is really a great case study of what collaboration and coordination between MCDC and county and our local partners can look like. We really want to continue that initiative and that coalition. I think you are all aware that it was launched on March, at the end of March, so we're only about 30 days in, a little bit over than 30 days. I'm going to point out that just within this short month, we actually reached about 11,932 active users on our site who are spending around 3 minutes and 17 seconds on the site. We've also received about 534 job seeker form submissions. So those are individuals that have either been affected by the federal changes or are potentially affected, and they just want to receive more information. They want to connect. They want to know what events are coming up. They want to get more resources. So at this point, we are looking at the next phase of this coalition, and part of that is working with our partners to deliver programs that would support businesses as well as job seekers. Obviously, WorkSource Montgomery is one of the partners that supports job seekers as well, and we work with the Montgomery County Chamber on developing these programs. But one of the things that we are planning on, what we found is that the smaller businesses that have been impacted have quite a bit resources already, particularly on the entrepreneurship arena. The larger and medium-sized businesses don't necessarily have a lot of services. So we're really looking to partner with the private sector and come up with some of those programs. And we're looking at potentially business coaching, or how do we get a larger federal government contracting company to maybe pivot to local or state or private procurement. So those types of programmings are the things that we're discussing at this time. And then in addition to that, we're also looking at how do we engage with companies that are not necessarily in Montgomery County, but they're hiring remotely, and so that we can retain the workers in Montgomery County and maybe find ways to expedite that process. And then the next thing is the partnering with the private sector. So it's early stages, but looking for opportunities to partner with the private sector on potential programming that can support innovation or that can continue innovation, particularly for workers that were already involved in some sort of discovery or technology or something that doesn't necessarily have to stop, and maybe the private sector can jump in and support that. Of course, within this proposal, it also includes some marketing funds to make the initiative more visible on the ground. So that's part of this ask as well.
Right, and then the other two new programs that we would request the additional $400,000 to help fund. One would be a target industry directory. As you know, everyone is always asking for, isn't there a comprehensive list of all the companies in Montgomery County? Everybody has been, and we all know there is not one of those lists. What we would love to do is to work with a consultant to build and validate a comprehensive list, starting with our target industries, to confirm and identify those companies that we already have here, and help us to identify industry verticals that we could use for business attraction purposes. What are those other companies that our existing companies would love to see here in the county, so that we could actively go after them? We think this will be a great first step in trying to build an overall county business directory by starting with those target industries. And then finally, strengthening our engagement through some MCEDC-led events. This will be bringing together local C-suite executives to cultivate relationships, to identify challenges and opportunities here in the county, to facilitate really these high-impact engagement opportunities. This is not to compete with many of the other events that are held here, hosted by chambers and things like that, but these would be very targeted to C-suite executives and really attempting to have some of those high-impact opportunities, like an economic club of Montgomery County, bringing together some of those C-suite executives to be a part of the solutions to whatever might be the challenges or opportunities we see for Montgomery County. And that I think sums us up. Jennifer, I didn't know if you had anything else.
So you've got to hear from the team. You got to hear from me. Appreciate all of the time and the attention. And as Councilmember Glass had mentioned, this is the time, right? I do think this is a bit of a make or break moment. What I can tell you is that MCEDC stands ready. That includes staff and the board. We do recognize that this is genuinely the time for us to sort of execute. We think we've run a little bit out of rope. And so we are highly focused. And, for me, and I think for a lot of folks, like, I live in Montgomery County for a reason. It's probably the same reason you guys live in Montgomery County. And I probably the same reason you guys are in public service as well, right? And so I think it's on me now. I want to do my part in sort of being able to hand over this county to the next generation so they can have the same opportunities and the same lives that we have here in this county. But that sustainability, that growth is not free. That does require an investment. So we are, as a final ask, asking for the budget, the full enhancement from the CE, as well as that additional $400,000 to restore our budget so that we can actually go out and do the things that we need to do, and hand in hand with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. It was very, very useful. Before I open it up to Councilmember Balcom, I'm wondering if the county executive team, Mr. Hartman and Spa, if you have any comments, or do you want to hold on before we have questions? Councilmember Balcom.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. That was very thorough. And I just want to echo the statements about the board. I've seen such growth in the board in the past 2.5 years. I'm not going to take full credit for that. But it's all on you. I think that it's really been just exciting and a pleasure to see the board really coalesce and also working together with the staff. It's really a team, and I appreciate all the work that you're doing. I do want to just briefly talk about the selection competitiveness piece that was included in the base budget. Councilmember Glass asked or these things that haven't been done in the past. And this is a perfect example of something that once you bring it up and once you say, hey, we should do this, everyone thinks, well, of course, and why haven't we been doing it in the past? So I think that this piece, and I understand the reason why the question of whether we could split the costs for consideration and why we can't, because I think the idea of really taking a really hard look at what our assets are, and so what are these sites, and how can we market them in a very niche way, and so I fully support this piece. And of course the audit piece, I think it's a tiny piece of money, but so important, particularly at this time, because we'll have this audit at the same time that we have a new CEO, and so that can and the beginning of a new strategic plan. So I think the base budget request I fully support. Thank you.
Which includes the 450 enhancement and the inflationary adjustment, right? Just to be absolutely clear. Councilmember Glass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. You answered the questions I had about the $450,000 request that the county executive has made. It makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad to know that, again, this is all about self-improvement and about honest conversations, and this is what's needed in the moment to maximize our potential. So fully supportive of that. I appreciate the additional thoughts on the additional budgetary requests. I'm not going to support them at this time because the budget is extremely tight, and we just had a long session this morning where we reduced some things in the county executive's budget. So, but I do want to pick up on the point that was made about the business directory, because you heard the collective size here. This committee has had countless conversations trying to figure out, why doesn't the Department of Permitting Services have a list of all the businesses? Why doesn't this department, that agency, right? So the need is real. Don't know if it's your responsibility to do it. I would argue that there's an office or a person within county government who would have access to it, and it just needs to be compiled in a certain way. But the need for it does exist. I just don't think we have the funds right now for an outside consultant to do what I think someone internally should have access to. And really glad to hear about the Mobilized Montgomery data as well. Thankfully, residents and organizations in Montgomery County have picked it up. There are community groups that have WhatsApp and Signal chats, deploying people, helping people, connecting people, and to know that you've been able to stand this up in this way is great. Don't know if we have the enhancements, right, to move it forward. But again, I'm glad you're at least thinking about what more we can do when we have the resources to do more. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Glass. Look, I am in full support with the county executive's recommendations, which include the 450 enhancement that we just talked about, the inflationary adjustment that I agree with, obviously, but that's obviously it goes to a nonprofit and that's voted on the GO committee, and it shouldn't be a problem at all. I don't think so. But adding anything else, knowing that we have a proposal for an income tax increase right now. We have the property tax increase, which I think is dead. At least I'm not going to vote for it. It's a lot going on. And even if we say, yes, we're going to put the 450, additional 450 that you're requesting on the rec list, it's not going to pass. It's going to die. So I don't want to give you a false hope and say, yes, let's put it, the Economic Development Committee say yes, but once it gets to the full council, it's competing against so many other issues right now, especially issues that deal with, the HHS committee, especially Health and Human Services and housing. I know we will look good, but it's not going to be real. It's not going to pass the additional request that you're asking. I know you guys made a really strong case. It's just not the right time right now. So I feel that, do you want to, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, and I appreciate the sentiment of my colleagues. I do, I think that these are valuable things. The business directory I've been asking for that for 20 years, right? So, and it's something that I know other people in the audience have said, there's got to be a list, right? So I do think that we should take that on as a committee in terms of how do we make that happen in a strategic way, a countywide way, because we need that list for so many other things. So I think that's important. And of course, I support the other efforts, but I will agree with my colleagues.
Can I ask one question?
Go ahead.
I guess for the record, though, but particularly on, Mobilize Montgomery, that seems like a no-brainer, and I guess I'd be surprised that the full council wouldn't at least support that, Mobilize Montgomery, because it's been so successful, number one. And number two, on the target list, I guess we should then agree that we'll never be asked, why don't you have a target list? Because we get it asked all the time, and we don't have a great answer, so it's going to be hard. We don't want to have to say, well, we tried to make it, but there wasn't funding, so we're happy to lead the effort and find funding or rely on somebody else for funding or just keep nagging about it. But we keep being asked and almost criticized for not having it, and we're here saying, one, Mobilize Montgomery is going well. Why wouldn't we continue to support it at this moment now? At the full council, at least try. And number two, the target industry, I don't know how we legislate to say it, but we do get asked all the time and criticized, why don't you have a list of businesses? Somebody put it together. So I'll just say those two things.
Okay, I'll give us 1 second.
So respectfully.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. So the business directory, you're right. I mean, people turn to MCDC for a lot of things, and that's where the mission creep comes in terms of people ask you to do things that you're not getting funding for. And so, yes, you're absolutely right. The council and the county executive branch can't expect you to have a product or an activity that you're not being funded for. So I think that that's important. From the Mobilize Montgomery programming perspective, I think that it's not a matter of whether the full council would not support it. There are so many pieces of support for the federal government, for federal workers, including a bill that that's on the table for hiring preference, as well as the work that we're doing on a monthly basis to, our webinars, but weekly.
Yeah, I did one this week.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
Judy was on it. I heard her. Yeah. Anyway, so it's not that the council wouldn't support that. It's just that there are many entities, many organizations, including WorkSource Montgomery, and many of our other nonprofits are coming to us with the exact same request, saying, we can help do this, give us money to do that, right? And to do that, we would need a really comprehensive view on that. I don't know if the county executive wanted to, not the county executive, the county executive.
There is an opening, I hear.
Thank you, Councilmember Malcolm. I hear you completely. We are in discussions with WorkSource Montgomery and MCDC and others about the appropriate package to continue the enhanced services that we've started, focused on our the employees who are looking for jobs, connect them with our high-profile companies are looking for workers, and all the job training and skills building that's required to connect one to the other. So that you'll be seeing something shortly on that, and I'll leave it at that.
Yes, thank you. Looking forward to that supplemental. Was there anything else? No. We're keeping it real. I'm sorry. There's no other way to say it. Mr. Ali, with anything else?
No, those were the only decision points that we called out in the packet.
I think that was clear, right?
That's good.
Well, thank you so much for coming, and we appreciate your work, and we look forward to the continued partnership.
Thank you.
Last item of the day, item 3, FY26 Operating Budget Economic Development Fund. Ms. Costello, please come up. And Dennis, there you are. Thank you. Mr. Ali, would you like to kick us off?
How do you want to go through the packet? Did you want to introduce first or go through the whole packet?
Go to the packets first. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so
these guys we know.
All right,
so
fair enough. Just want to make sure. Okay, so starting on page 2, you can see the county executive's recommended budget and the change to the FY25 approved budget. And there isn't any recommended enhancement. The only change reflects compensation adjustments in the amount of $11,600. The EDF also doesn't receive an operating budget equity tool analysis. The EDF was reviewed on March 6th as part of the follow-ups, so the committee is aware of the various programs that it funds, and it's also the vehicle for the jobs initiative that was funded last year with one-time funding. In terms of discussion items, there really aren't any other than the fact that there were compensation adjustments recommended because ultimately the overall appropriation from the FY25 level hasn't changed, but council staff did note that last year an additional $900,000 was approved into the EDF for Purple Line Small Business Impact Grants, and it was explicitly referred to as one-time funding in the county executive's transmittal and in the discussions at the council. And so we noted that it wasn't sort of removed and then recommended as an enhancement to the EDF, and so that may create a few decision points for you later on. Just looking at the overall activity in the EDF, starting on page 4 on table 3, you can see how much funding was approved for each program. You can see how much was expended. The EDF did have a rollover fund balance that's allocated for all the programs proportionally. And with that fund balance, given all the activity through March 31st, there is a remaining just under $1 million in the EDF, which they believe is sufficient to cover the remaining encumbrances and projected expenditures in the EDF. Most of the activity is being driven by the MOVE program, which they're estimating to double in demand in FY26 and beyond to $1.5 million. Some of that is driven by the changes to MOVE, but obviously those weren't officially they didn't kick in till in the middle of the fiscal year, and so a lot of that's just driven by traditional activity at the traditional or the older maximum award amount, and so that could also change going forward with the expansion and the higher award limits. As I mentioned, the Department of Finance believes that the volume will exceed approximately $1.5 million a year going forward. And so there is potentially demand based on this data, based on their expertise, for additional funding, at least in the amount of $750,000. So council staff has kind of identified a reduction for the committee's consideration in the amount of $900,000. And there's basically several options. So you could approve the county executive's recommendation to maintain the budget as he's presented it. You could also just remove $150,000 from that recommendation so that MOVE is programmed with $1.5 million instead of $1.65 million, because currently the intention would be that that $900,000 is allocated all to MOVE. The alternative is you could remove the $900,000 from the EDF and approve placing all $900,000 on the reconciliation list. And alternatively, you could remove $900,000 from the EDF and approve placing $750,000 on the reconciliation list. So we basically identified as council staff the option between approving somewhere between $900,000 and $750,000, recognizing that it would be ongoing money, which was from what was formerly one-time money, and then the option is obviously with you to whether that should go on the reconciliation list or not. And that's it. There's also information here about how the jobs initiative has progressed, but there aren't any decision points about that. And finally, I'll just point out that they are expecting to request some supplemental appropriations for EDF, GLP, or grant and loan program awards, but not necessarily, those are not necessarily indication of increased EDF, GLP funding going forward. So those would just be one-time supplemental appropriation requests, but there's no decision before you on that currently either. That is all I have so far.
Thank you for that. Before we open it up, if we can have the county executives team provide a response to what you have heard, especially on the situation of the $900,000 that is placed here.
Certainly. Dennis Hetman, Department of Finance. So structurally, MOVE right now is essentially budgeted at $750K, but its actual volume is right around 2 million at its peak this year, and it will be estimated to be around 1.5 million next year. There has never been more coursing through the EDF. It's a function of many things, but in terms of those values, if we don't have that approved today, we'd have to come back over as a supplemental appropriation. We're looking to try to avoid that. The timing of it was a situation where when we were formulating the budget, there was a lot up in the air with respect to state legislation. There's multiple streets that are being helped by those funds. We didn't know if they were going to pick up the bill for all of the streets, and they are indeed. So now we know that. But that this $900,000 is still technically allocated in the Economic Development Fund grant and loan program. We will use all of it in 26, or most of it. 750 is the estimate, so that would help us in terms of the approvals for next year.
Anyone else? Do you have any questions?
So I do.
Councilmember Balcom.
So I do have the question. So it was one-time money for the purple line, and I think with the assumption that we wouldn't need any more of that funding anymore. So, but I'm not as familiar with the purple line need. So can I?
My understanding is that money, those funds are now being provided by the state. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
Right. Yep. Okay. And that answers your question? Okay.
I'm okay with the county executive's recommendation, the entire packet.
Yeah, so thank you. I'm supportive of the entire packet as well, and just want to dive deeper into some of the details. Again, we got an update a little while ago on the MOVE program that this committee, led together as part of the conversations that the chair has led, which there's a lot of really good things that have come out of this committee.
Yes.
And yeah, well, it's true. It's not only the MOVE program, but it's streamlining processes for restaurants. It's working to be able to convert vacant office buildings into housing. And there's a series of other things. And so I look forward to the committee report, and all the good things that have
and overriding the veto next week.
There we go.
I'm just saying.
We're teeing that up. But with regard to the MOVE program, the 43 businesses that have expanded within Montgomery County, and then the 14 that are startups and 10 that relocated, and 3 that are expanding their operations within the county, 12 pending applications. I mean, that's all really good stuff. So clearly need to increase the funding to continue supporting that program. The only question I have, and I see it's worked itself out, but it's kind of a budgetary issue. Regarding the 3 funds of the jobs initiative that they're rolling over, is how often do we do that?
So that's a great question, and it is more convoluted in the EDF than other funds because it is fungible in the context of the EDF GLP. That all rolls together. It's aggregated. It was intentionally established that way to give us the flexibility if larger deals come up that we could fund them. So in terms of the rollover balance, the table that Bilal has provided shows kind of the overages and the under where we're short for other funds. And then in January, we get a rollover amount from our controllers group with respect to the expected expenditures for the remainder of the year. So we plan to end in June 25, right around $1 million fund balance. Of that, most of it will go to MOVE to ensure that that does not need to be halted in 25. But then we also have known commitments that will also transpire over the coming months.
Thank you. And in addition to those funds and the nearly $10.5 million rollover, are there other funds within the executive's disposal, right, to leverage any proposals for folks and incentives? I mean, there are other funds, right?
I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hetman to answer that. And I do want to point out that the jobs funds have already rolled over because it was a FY24 supplemental.
Well, they immediately rolled over. So does this mean it's twice rolled over?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so at the end of this week, we hope, or the beginning of next, we're going to distribute our quarterly progress report on the 3 new funds. So that will include updates on the total amounts funded for jobs, founders, and technology innovation, and the anticipated checks that we plan to cut for those. But it's been a number of companies and fantastic opportunities, and it's multiplied leverage dollars.
Absolutely, not questioning that at all. Yeah. I'm just, the heart of the question, so let me rephrase it. In addition to MOVE and then these 3 funds, the 4 funds that are at question, are there additional funds within EDF or within other buckets that the county executive has at his disposal should negotiations be needed?
Yes, my understanding, general fund supplemental appropriations could also supplement those as well.
Okay, because what I'm just trying to get at is understanding all the different tools that are available, and it's my understanding, and your team, and I'll say it more broadly, are working on a lot of things. And I expect there might be some announcements in the near future showing the progress that you all have been making that might be outside of these buckets. And so I'm just trying to understand, as we're following the dollars, trying to consolidate and isolate all of the economic development funds, because if we have buckets here or there that are either earmarked or for specific purposes, and then there's twice rollover funds, just want to get one picture of how much we have, and I see Ms. Costello is chomping at the bit.
Well, Mr. Hetman's monitor of the funds, I should say, of the majority of funds. So I'm thinking if you're asking, we have an economic development opportunity, what tools are in our toolkit is kind of what I'm hearing.
That is it. So open up the toolkit.
Okay, open up the toolkit, and most of them, and Dennis, Mr. Hetman, correct me if I'm wrong, most of them fall within the EDF. So you have the jobs, the technology innovation and founders grants, which are about to start, the dollars are about to start progressing to 58 companies. You have the job creation, that $10,000 grant for every 5 or more jobs that's also in the EDF. Those dollars, as I understand it, 6 months after hires have been held, are soon going to be progressing. The MOVE grants that we've talked about, the SBIR match, and the biotech investor tax credit are also within EDF. And then the bigger unknown are major projects that we might be working to attract to the county that would be jointly incentivized to state funds and the county. And as you probably know, any package that the state offers to a large pharma company, a large factory, the county must put in 10%.
So for them to offer $1 million, we have to come over here and ask for a supplemental, which I think is what Mr. Hetman was referring to. And then most of you know of the state's international soft landing dollars, where which a number of companies have used to come to our incubator. It's $10,000 reimbursed to the companies, and Montgomery County has been the largest user of those funds. So I think, and then the state also has some job tax credits. I think that's pretty much it. So for special programs with substantial capital investment and job growth, we would come back to you for a supplemental, and for everything else, it's using up most of the projections of the EDF, as I understand it.
Thank you. What I would appreciate, whether it's when this comes back up to full budget, full council for consideration, or thereafter, but I think it's more appropriate in the budget conversation, a list of all the tools in the toolbox. Because I think it's really important at this moment of time for us to know how much we are devoting to this work, and to see all the tools in one PDF on one page, rather than trying to piece them all together as we are. Yep, Ms. Costello.
I forgot something very important, which is the investment we're hoping to make in our innovation centers. So the coaching and those facilities and the network that we hope to be able to bring together would benefit not only the existing tenants in the innovation centers, but also we're hoping to have some extra resources to create a more vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem that's actually, if it happens, entrepreneur in residence type of advice, one-on-one coaching, networking, and education are another attraction and business growth tool that are tied to economic development that we hope to have in our toolbox. We do all that ad hoc, as you know, right now, but we're hoping to make that more robust.
Would that be under the EDF program outside? Because the page that you have in the packet, page 4 right now, it has a table with many of the programs that Ms. Costello mentioned, but not all of them. Maybe we can just add the ones that are missing here, but if there is like the last one that she mentioned is not under the EDF program, but maybe we can have a note under it so we can, because I agree with Councilmember Glass, it would be great if we have like one place where we can see everything.
The toolbox.
Toolbox, yeah. This is kind of almost getting to the toolbox what you have here.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, so I make sure that we get that information for full council. So this is the EDF, and these are incentives.
Yeah.
So, you know, the incubators, the business center team, BioHub, these are other investments and services that the county makes to support economic development, but they're not incentives. So do you want me to separate those out, or just sort of the sum total of all economic development activities in this budget?
Maybe it's two toolboxes. I don't know. But I understand the distinction, right? And these are expenditures that would be used to incentivize and entice as opposed to incubate, right?
The truth is, when a business wants to come here, big or small, they don't know to look in the EDF budget or the incubator NDA.
So it's one toolbox.
So that's why I'm looking at it from a user standpoint, I think is what you're asking. So I can work with staff to help frame that. Thank you.
If that's what people need, then that's what we need to provide, and it's helping. It would be helpful for us to know what those options are in one very, very simple defined space.
Yes, thank you. I don't know how many toolboxes we're on now, but I think there's two issues. One is what resources are out there for businesses, potential businesses. That's something that in our prior discussion with MCEDC, that's something that we should have that, and it should be very concise and very clear, right? So what are all the resources available? But I do think, to Mr. Ali's point of separating, here are the incentives, here are the other areas, right? But I also think it's important to look at it from a fiscal perspective. I think it's important for the body to know how much money we're investing, because we're the ones that have to make that investment. But I also think from a marketing perspective and from the the perspective of letting the world know how much we care about investing in our businesses, I think it's a data point that we would want to share and put out there in a very meaningful way. Look how much we're investing in our business community. So I think that this would serve two points.
Beautiful. Yes. Looking forward to the product that Mr. Ali and Ms. Costello, you guys are going to put together. All right, perfect.
Don't overthink it.
Don't, please.
Don't
Keep it
overthink
simple.
it.
Simple, very simple. Without objection, we support the county executive's proposal for this item. Is there anything else that we missed?
Let me just confirm. I don't think so. I've written a lot of packets. No. We're good.
With that, thank you so much for your time and for the partnership. This meeting is adjourned.